And the question now is it possible to absolve the minister and merely blame the police for inept policing, and whether the instability at the top is affecting the performance and morale of the police on the ground? And joining us via Skype, Adali Veyes, Senior Researcher for Social Justice Coalition. And we joined in studio by Mr. Kwinika, Paul Kwinika, who is the President of the South African Police Union. Good evening to you and thanks so much for joining us. The lines are open 011-542-2186. Mr. Veyes, let's just start by the necessity to have the crime statistics, if not to give us a sense of comfort, perhaps, that some effective police strategy is working, that we're a little bit safer. What is the purpose of it all?
So obviously the police can make use of the crime statistics, and then we could argue that they could keep those crime statistics to simply inform their work. But given that crime is a national problem and that all of us are battling with high levels of violent crime in particular, making those crime stats available to communities allows various organizations, allows various government departments, allows various levels of government to start thinking through what they can do and how they can assist the police to make our communities safer.
All right, but over the years, there has been marginal decreases in certain categories of crime, and I think that the most horrendous or heinous would be contact crimes, that of sexual offences, etc., that we've seen. We're told it's 4.3% decrease. Is this a reflection of the reality, or is it merely a case of still silence and secrecy around it where people are not reporting?
So we know from government itself that these aren't necessarily a true reflection of the level of crime that is occurring in South Africa. So the Statistics South Africa annually released that document continuously has shown in a decrease in a level of trust of the police, and so a willingness to report crimes, and in particular sexual offences, to the police. And so when we're approaching crime statistics, I think it is beneficial to look at various data sets to try and ascertain what the true picture is, and also what the perception of crime is in South Africa. We experience that, and that has a material impact, and so that shouldn't be discarded or overlooked.
Yeah, Mr. Veyes, stay on the line, please. We joined in studio by Paul Kwinika, President of the South African Policing Union. And thanks so much for joining us. Just from a policing point of view, and I suppose the whole hierarchy in terms of if there isn't a National Commissioner of Police who is stable, who is there consistently to see out a strategy, how does that impact on or cascade down to other levels?
It does have an impact, because you know that you need a pilot to fly a plane. You need an engineer to take a rail train on the rail. Sorry. So you need someone to lead the police, and without leadership, then you will have this polarization of leadership within the institution itself. Remember, the National Commissioner of Police has got a technical kind of work. He or she has to make sure that the institution functions fully when it comes to issues of critical positions that need to be filled. For example, the position of the Hawks. Though the job is done by the minister to employ, but they have got an influence in making sure that that department fully functions. So you have got crime intelligence, which is also sitting with an acting person. So is the DNC, the Deputy National Commissioner of Police, responsible for crime intelligence and detection. Those departments are very critical departments which need to be filled up very urgently. And I so wish that this evening, if the President is watching, he has a duty to make sure that he appoints the National Commissioner of Police.
All right, let's take a caller, 011-542-2186. Anonymous in Johannesburg, good evening to you. And what's your view?
Good evening, Cindy. I'm actually a victim. I would like to share my experience. I was recently hijacked and robbed. Everything was taken from me. They stripped off my knickers, they take off my jewelry, take off my T-shirt. Fine, then the case was then reported. But what happened the following day, 6 o'clock in the morning, while I was going through that trauma, I received a call from a brigadier telling me that they are supposed to take fingerprints on my car. And my car has got this long list. my car could be, number 150. So for them to be able to speed up a process, they need to do a favor for me. I'm like, a favor for me.
Miss Sean.
I'm thinking, I don't have anything. My ID, my purse, my phone, my everything is been taken, and this brigadier, a whole brigadier, is telling me that they need to do me a favor. And what I discovered, Cindy, luckily the following day, I received a call from crime intelligence, a captain asking if this matter has been taken care of, am I getting feedback and all that. And I then reported this thing to say there's a brigadier who's actually, he gave me the number to say, if you are ready and you have the money, I'm going to give you the account, and we will talk in terms of how you're going to deposit that money. Then I said to him, you know what, right now I'm confused. I'm still trying to understand what happened. I don't know who talked to. I don't even think whether is it right for me to talk about this thing. I'm still trying to understand what happened to me. So then what happened after that, then this lady said, no, you know what, now that there is that brigadier who phoned you, do yourself a favor, be strong, stand up, go to the pound area, and make sure that you get your car back, because my car was recovered. And I had to go there. When I got to that place at Van Rijn, it's so unbelievable the way you are being treated there. It's like they are doing you a favor. Everyone is trying to get a chance of making money out of your situation.
Yeah, Anonymous, and I appreciate that you're sharing this horrific ordeal and, strength to you. And but just to elevate it further, if you will, please send an email to assignment@ann7.co.za.com. I beg your pardon, assignment@ann7.com, and at least with the details, we may be able to assist and root out the corruption that you've highlighted. And again, thank you so much for sharing. We go to Patrick in Limpopo. Good evening to you.
Good evening, and how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very, very well. My name is Patrick Magadani from Limpopo and Triangle. I just wondered, because when I saw the statistics there, it shows KZN, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng. And I was wondering if these other provinces are not even included in the statistics. Now, the minister is showing there that he would like even the statistics to show the number of convicts and other things, which might be a good move. But then how are we covered as other provinces? How do we know how are we doing in our provinces?
So you're not really arguing the methodology in terms of the sample that is used in getting to the crime statistics, but maybe the accuracy thereof in other provinces and even far-flung areas. We'll pose that to our Skype guest. Then we're joined by Mr. Dali Veyes, Senior Researcher for Social Justice Coalition. Thanks so much again for staying with us. Just very quickly on the problem around corruption and victims being subjected to further trauma in their engagement with the police. What can be done in that space? And I mean, Anonymous being so courageous and brave, she sounds like a fighter, that she's not going to waver at the demands of some rogue police officer.
Yeah, no, it is fantastic. Her response was the right response and clearly very at the hand of the police. To agree with the other speaker that you have in studio is that it does come down to leadership at some level. I would disagree with him and say that I'd hope that the president doesn't appoint a national commissioner tonight. I would want the president to implement the national development plan and to appoint a police board that can actually appoint a national police commissioner that has the right credentials, that is vetted by that board, and then names are put to the president for the president to then fulfill his constitutional duty and appoint a national commissioner. Getting leadership in that way, I think, will create greater accountability from brigadiers at a station level that treat South African citizens and people living in South Africa in this way and try to solicit bribes out of them. bribes out of them. So if we have leadership at a national level that can set a principled leadership position and have that filter down to a station level, then we'll make good headways in creating greater trust between communities and the police.
Mr. Vaya, stay with us. Beggy is calling us from Newcastle. Good evening and thanks for your patience.
Yes,
Beggy,
Cindy, how are you, Cindy?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, you know, Cindy, the problem is the police do arrest criminals. When they arrest them, the justice system release them. Therefore, it looks like the police are not working. So the police here are victims of the community and the justice system. If the justice system can collaborate with the police, I think something can happen.
All right, Beggy, thanks so much for that. We'll ask Mr. Kwinika to respond in terms of whether the police in themselves feel overwhelmed, the workload, working conditions, and also, as he mentions, that you would be demoralized if your case or your suspect has been released unduly.
Look at this. Our job as union is to create conditions which are conducive for our members to can work in. And we must admit that the current conditions aren't conducive for members to can work in. Today, we were watching a clip of a police officer being attacked by a hammer suspect. Using a hammer, he followed that police officer even when he was on the ground. A gruesome kind of killing. We're living with violent people. People that are very angry. We don't know for what, but who does not respect the law. Now, these conditions demoralizes police officials. You sometimes don't even know that they are going to attend to this crime scene, whether you will return or not. So those things, they play in the mind and morale of the police officials. When it comes to issues of reporting crime, yes, police officers arrest people. But there is this thing which we call, because I don't want to promote, I really don't want to promote inefficiency. We want to promote professionalism. There is this thing of arresting people prematurely, and you haven't prepared your docket to go to court. The courts are not going to keep those people, because then they are infringing on the rights of people unnecessarily. Our police officials are trained to arrest people when they are supposed to do that. But they have to make sure that their job is up to scratch.
But let's talk also about the recruitment process, because there has been cases and successful convictions where law enforcement agents themselves were arrested and were found behind bars, etc., which is a good thing. So maybe the recruitment process is not looking at career professional police. What people might be doing is just finding an employment opportunity as opposed to a passion or a vocation.
Remember, this is not a job. It's a calling. It's an innovation. You need to get people who really have got this zeal, the passion to come and serve the people. And then you are not going to follow each and every person if they are here with this purpose. But the danger is when you start attracting wrong people into the service. Then you are going to have a very strong command and control environment where you have to know the whereabouts of each and every person. And that is very difficult, because looking at the limited resources and expertise which the police has in leadership, that can be cumbersome. So truly speaking, there are those departments which are working very hard. Police officers arresting one of their own for doing something wrong, and we give them a pat. We cannot generalize that the police is corrupt. We cannot say that the police is, it's everyone who's not doing the job. There are those who are doing an exceptional work.
And you're quite right. I mean, that is the inclination to just assume that everybody is rogue and is not to be trusted. Let's go to Billy in Cape Town. Anonymous, we see you. We'll come to you next. Hi, Billy.
Good evening, and good evening to your panel. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, thanks. Just to give you an idea, I'm a 56-year-old male, colored male. My view is, firstly, it starts at the top. And why I'm going to say that is, if you recall, when the late Jackie Selebe was appointed commissioner, national commissioner, the first mistake that he was allowed to do was to disband all the specialized units, which was your murder and robbery unit, your drug squad, all of those, because they wanted to create one police force. And surely they've learned from that first mistake, but they continue to do that. And why I'm saying that, because those specialized units are required to specialize specifically in identifying and solving those crimes. What I'm saying from the top is because since then, we haven't had any, I won't say competent to go that far, but we haven't had a trained proper, from Becky Cherry down to the last one now that was acting commissioner, Paslani, that could do a good job. So that's what I'm saying from the top, even the ministers. So for me personally, what I've witnessed is, firstly, I've been a victim of crime, had guns pointed at me on 3 occasions already. But that is not the point. The point is, what I've noticed is, firstly, like your panel has identified, and I would agree, all police are not corrupt. There are some guys out there that are doing a great job in blue. However, the problem is we are getting policemen who are taking it on as a job, as you've just mentioned. They are not taking it up as a calling due to unemployment rate that is so high. Secondly, they are under-resourced majorly, because I have experienced firsthand more than once occasions where we've called our local station for a police vehicle.
There are no vehicles. Yeah, sorry, Billy, we have to keep it brief. I hear you. Yeah, thanks so much. We'll get a response from our panelists. Anonymous, good evening to you. You'll be our last call on this. Good evening.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, unjani?
Siyaphila singezwa nini?
Ngilang futhi empangeni. First of all, ngicela ucomment ukuthi please mangabe ama-callers wothatha ngicela wanikeza isikhathi eside sokukhuluma ukuthi nalithola i-chance yabo. Number 1. Number 2. Okay, number 2. Ngiyabezwa abafuthi bayakhuluma ukuthi amaphoyisa are-corrupt, but I'm telling you from la empangeni, amaphoyisa are corrupt, very corrupt. Mina ngomunye wabantu aphokwe i-Ford Ranger 2017 model inenyanga ngiyithengile ethatha eseMozambique on a hijacking point ukuthi bangikhomba ngebhamu abafana bawu-5 bantatha bambeke ehlathini kwaze kwasa bethi imoto yami fanele iwele ufike eMozambique yawela imoto yami. The next thing, abafana laba besangibambile ehlathini bekhuluma namaphoyisa bebuza for ama-route everything yabo. So even bangabuka now i-hijacking lempangeni is very high, like as it not, is very high. Imoto ehambile even emnyangweni anyway bangabuka it's west.
But Anonymous, ngicela ukubuza bhuti wami, uyakhona ukureporta yini esingayenza ukuthi at least siqedele lobugebengu nje emphakathini?
No, singareporta kuyafana ureporta kubantu those duty, reporta kumaphoyisa, lo muntu ureporta kuye file ukusebenzana nalabo bantu. Then the next thing sifaka enkingeni wena.
Yeah, okay, uthi uzakusiza ubaba Kwinika, ngicela umamele emsakazweni. And then we go to, I believe we can squeeze in another caller. Good evening to you. Hi, Baloye.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Oh, all right. Ngathi mina ngifuna ukuthi ngichazele into ya why crime is ephezulu. Maphoyisa in the SAPS, the moral is down. There's no hope in the SAP police because there's nothing which supporting all these members. If you can look the way how they are working, the resources, fan, all this problem, you find that from the logistic side, all the vans are at the private garage, not fixed, staying there the whole approximately 6 months to even a year. Then now it comes to be frustrated. You find that the area where all these members are working are too big. But you find that the resources are very, very limited. You find that the whole area maybe is one. Maybe one van can cover more than maybe 50 kilometers radius.
Yeah, but I think you echo the same concerns that Anonymous did in Pangeni, and thanks so much for your call. Very briefly, Mr. Veyes, and I'll ask the same of Mr. Kwinika. You know, there's a sense of helplessness. There's almost a despondency that there's nothing much you can do. If you report to the police, some of them in certain areas are corrupt, etc. From, you know, if you take the sentiment from our callers. So and not having specialized units and all sorts of things. But surely, you know, the minister has now brought about a turnaround strategy with specialized task teams. It's fairly early for him in the position. You know, do you have a sense of confidence, though?
I'd like to, but I think there's a whole lot of work to be done, and I don't think that the minister is necessarily acknowledging all the work that needs to be done. So not to impinge or to assume where the callers were from and which communities they live in, but the Social Justice Coalition has taken the Minister of Police and the acting National Commissioner, the National Commissioner, to court on the issue of police resource allocation. And so where the human resources are being stationed and deployed to. And so Nyanga, for instance, that we know last year had 281 murders, is known as the murder capital of South Africa, has the highest numbers of murders, not necessarily the highest murder rates, had 16 times more murders than Camps Bay, for instance, but it has 7 times less police per 100,000 people than Camps Bay police station. So that means that the ability for the police to be responsive to a community is impacted by that. And so that's something that we'd hope the minister would address as a matter of urgency. But look, crime isn't only the responsibility of the police. They have a responsibility to investigate, to keep us safe. But there are a whole lot of other social factors that contribute to the high incidence of crime in our communities. And so we would ask the minister to speak to his cabinet peers and for them to
Dali, we're going to have to leave it there. That's Dali Vayas, Senior Researcher, Social Justice Coalition, joining us via Skype. And very briefly, I think, especially to assist some of the callers who find themselves in a hugely infested area, be it drug-related and corrupt police, you're saying that there are other levels that they can go.
Yeah, you see, if our society get involved in policy, because there are a variety of structures that are there, have been put in place, they sometimes don't even trust those structures, like CPF structures. They'll tell you that CPF structures are the establishment of the ANC. It is not the establishment of the ANC. Those are the community structures which allows them to have an input into policy. If they don't find joy there, they have got the right to go to the station commissioner where crime has been committed and complain about the shabby treatment that they're receiving from them. If they're not happy, they have got IPID, Independent Police Investigative Directorate. So there are a variety of structures, but our society are not, I think these structures are not well put into the public space. The issue of resource establishment guide, that one there, it is an issue that we need to talk about it in future. But the rural areas are not being resourced better. They are not resourced better than urban areas, communities.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I'm Paul Kwinika, President of the South African Policing Union. And thanks to you at home as well for calling in. Anything else that you might want to add, assignment@ann7.com. We're back after this.